Hello, I'm Conan Horace, and I want to make a game on YouTube. The idea is that I will work on my game a few hours each week, depending on how much time I have. Then at the end of the week, I'll talk about the design choices that went into it. I want to do this series in part to help other people interested in game design to get ideas and perfect some of their own design processes. Throughout this series, I will be giving as much general advice as I can. While I'm making a roguelike, my advice should be general enough that you could apply it to making a car racing game or some other game of your like. Someone once said that a good artists copy and great artists steal. While this may seem like the comments of a criminal, there is a grain of truth to it. Primarily, when you want to make a piece of art that will be accepted by a wide audience, it's probably a good idea to understand all the biases, nuances, and idiosyncrasies that make the art form work. After all, making art still follows basic rules. For example, a person doesn't look like a person unless it looks like a person. Or in other words, if you have a duck which looks like a dog, smells like a dog, and acts like a dog, but you totally swear it's duck, no, really, it's a duck, you're probably going to be thought of as a lunatic instead of as a genius. So anyway, let's just jump right into making a roguelike. To do this, let's look at some roguelikes to see what rules they generally follow. But first, let's use Wikipedia to get an idea of some of these rules beforehand. And for all of those of you who are rolling your eyes and saying Wikipedia can't be trusted because anyone can edit it, just humor me for this video. Maybe one day I'll make another video explaining why Wikipedia can in fact be trusted. And I think you'd be very surprised to learn that the fact that anyone can edit Wikipedia actually makes it more trustworthy. But I'm getting off topic here. Wikipedia says that roguelikes have 8 basic requirements. Number 1, they randomly generate tile-based levels, monster encounters, and treasure. Number 2, they traditionally have permadeath. That is to say that when the player dies, the game starts all over again. Number 3, the combat system is turn-based instead of real-time. Number 4, they generally have complex interlocking systems which generate emergent gameplay. Number 5, the game is focused on hack-and-slash based gameplay. This means that the only way to deal with monsters is to kill them. There are no peaceful options. Number 6, the identity of magic items, including magically enchanted items, varies across games. Number 7, the player must use resource management to survive. And number 8, they are generally single player. So let's look at 3 roguelikes which I will be using as inspiration for my game. They are Castle of the Winds, Delver, and Pixel Dungeon. I'll look at each game twice to determine if and how they follow the guidelines from Wikipedia, and then to determine how they differ from one another to achieve different goals. I will use this information to figure out what I want to do for my own game, and write a game design document. I don't have a copy of Castle of the Winds because I don't own a copy of Windows that runs as an application on top of DOS. This means that I will need to recall my own memories playing this game and looking through internet archives. Castle of the Winds did have randomly generated tile-based levels. I wasn't able to find too many details about this, but from memory I can tell you that the rooms were pre-designed by the level designer, and the computer randomly mashed those pre-made rooms together with pre-made halls. Permadeath was definitely not a thing in this game. I remember saving my game constantly and reloading in what is called save scumming. Turn-based combat? Check. There's really not much else to say on this point. Complex interlocking mechanics that generate emergent gameplay? Not really, but to be fair, this game was released back in the heyday of Windows 3.1, so maybe? I think, ultimately, though, I'm going to call this yes simply because there was more than one way to open any given door. That was pretty impressive for the time, considering that the game was completely developed by one guy. The game is entirely hack and slash. There was a single side quest that I remember where you save someone from being sacrificed to an altar by ogres, but you save the guy by killing the ogres. Putting on unidentified armor or using unidentified weapons was always scary. Potions were not identified when you first picked them up unless you've seen one like it before, so yes, the game has randomized magical loot. The player definitely needs to use resource management skills in order to survive. And finally, this game has a single player. In fact, it is only single player. So altogether, Castle of the Winds meets all the requirements from Wikipedia to be a roguelike. Well, all but one. Delver also has randomly generated tile-based levels. Again, the rooms are copy-pasted in using a randomized algorithm. This game definitely has permadeath, and it can get really frustrating sometimes when I'm only 1 or 2 levels away from beating the game. The combat system is not turn-based, it is very much real-time, which means the player has to always be on their feet. This game doesn't really have many complex interlocking systems that create emergent gameplay, but they are there. Most notable, I think, is the ability to make discarded potions explode. They definitely hack and slash. There are no alternative options for monsters in this game. Magical items are always randomized, but this game takes it a cruel step further and actually forces the player to memorize some of the potions through experience. This really sucks because the potion types are randomized every time you die. Resource management is required for survival in this game through and through. And of course, this game is only single player. So again, this game meets all requirements set aside or set up by Wikipedia to be a roguelike, all but one. Pixel Dungeon, just like the previous 2 games, uses pre-made rooms and a randomized algorithm to generate levels. Pixel Dungeon also reeks of permadeath. I have never made it past floor 6 of this darn game. Turn-based, as you can see from the gameplay on your screen, is definitely a check. Complex interlocking systems? Absolutely there, and to a much greater degree than any of the other 2 games being analyzed. Not all monsters are dealt with using violence. In particular, there is a Rat King which doesn't care if you exist and lets you take all of its money. I guess that doesn't really count and is certainly the exception, not the rule. This game is definitely hack and slash. Magical items are indeed randomized between each playthrough. Resource management is very necessary to survive even 1 level of this incredibly unforgiving game. Single player is, again, a check. Cool, so now we know that these games are definitely roguelikes, and Pixel Dungeon is the most roguelike of all the roguelikes on this list. But now let's take a look at the individual things these games do, which set them apart from the rest in both good and bad ways. First of all, Castle of the Winds. This game is so boring to look at. Sure, it is very easy to see the monsters against the almost pure white background with solid light gray walls, but sometimes the monsters can't be told apart from one another. A few of them use the same images. The dragons are especially guilty on this point. The game is broken into 2 installments with 3 towns between them. I really like the idea of separate towns. I think I'll use that for my game. There are multiple bosses and they are all pretty well spread apart. I really like that as well. Plus, this game really sets itself apart through the cunning use of a proper storyline. I love story and I think my game will have plenty of it, but I think I'll make my story shrouded in mystery. Now that I think about it, if my game has such a rich story, then I want the player to have the option not to play with permadeath, so they aren't always reading the same bits of story all the time. On to Delver. This game sure is beautiful compared to Castle of the Winds. The tiles and colors change every few levels, which is really nice. I'll definitely be using different tile sets in my game to help break up monotony. All the monsters, with only 2 exceptions, telegraph what they're going to do next through their animations. Maybe this is something I can use as well, though I do have to remember that this game is real-time, where my game is going to be turn-based. There really isn't much opportunity for animation telegraphing in a turn-based game. Basically, if I find a chance to use it, I will. It will probably just be constrained to bosses. The music for this game, which I don't play for you because of copyright stuff, is absolutely amazing. It builds the atmosphere perfectly. Moving on to Pixel Dungeon. In this game, your health slowly increases over time, or more specifically, over player turns. I like this mechanic and I think I'll implement it as well. There is a hunger mechanic and I absolutely hate it. I think it is evil incarnate and I will definitely not be using anything like that. I can understand why they put it in this game. The idea is to get the player to keep moving and not just sit around in one dungeon floor and keep leveling up. This was put in to keep the player moving. Once again, groups of levels have different tile sets. I like that, I want to use it. Here we can see that the boss does have one action which it telegraphs well to the player. I still want to use something like that if the opportunity arises, but there is no promise that such an opportunity will. Cool, well I have some seed ideas that I can apply to my game. These ideas will provide a basic framework to build around, and they themselves will inevitably change over time. But now I'm ready to write my game design document. To all you aspiring game designers out there, a game design document is one of the most precious things you have. It dictates everything about the game. Everything. It is the Bible of your game. It is what you give all your team members so that everyone knows how the game will work at the big picture. It should receive all the attention and care you can possibly give it so that it effectively communicates your ideas to team members. It should be able to do your job for you if you ever call off sick. I cannot say enough about the qualities and attributes of the game design document. It needs to cover every little detail of your game, and it needs to be written before you do anything else. Here's my game design document. It is nearly 20 pages of absolute unadulterated game description glory. Like I said just moments ago, a lot of the ideas I took from the 3 games have been morphed and changed to fit the needs of my game, thus I have made those ideas my own. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Next episode I will talk about asset creation and some of the decisions that need to go into that. Until then, I'm Conan Horace. Have fun.